When you have cable and your picture freezes, you get irritable. When you get irritable, your work suffers. When your work suffers, the wrong man is convicted. When the wrong man is convicted, he has time to think. When he has time to think, he thinks about you a lot. And when he thinks about you a lot, your house explodes. Don't have your house explode. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Can you smell the baloney? There's a lot of baloney in that DirecTV commercial, and that's what made it hilarious. However, it is not hilarious if the same illogical thinking or logical fallacies, the phony baloney, shows up in your writing or in your speaking. Especially when you're trying to persuade someone. Hopefully by the end of this series on basic logic, you'll be able to spot and smell the baloney in the media, in commercials, in your friends, in your parents even, in your teachers, in yourselves, especially. You are the future. We don't want a lot of baloney in the future. So are you ready? The DirecTV commercial is essentially saying this. If you use cable and it breaks down or breaks up, you get irritable, and your job as a defense lawyer will suffer. You'll fail to defend the innocent client. He'll go to jail, think a lot about you. He'll come to kill you with a bomb, and your house will explode. Hilarious! But not if you think this way in your writing and in your speaking. Hopefully by the end of this series, you'll be able to use logic in writing and speaking, and you'll be able to identify logical fallacies and counter them through writing and speaking. Hopefully, as you study logic, that is the study of truth, claims, and reasoning, you'll be able to develop your baloney detector and become master of the universe. So here's your first logical fallacy. It's the slippery slope fallacy. That's the DirecTV commercial. Basically, they were saying if A and B are true, then C, D, E, F, G all must be true as well. In other words, if you don't buy DirecTV, then C, D, E will be true and your house will explode. That, of course, is ridiculous. All these things don't have to be true just because one thing happens. Here's another example. If someone smokes and throws their cigarettes out of the car window, then they must have a trashy car, they must not recycle, they don't work out either. Now, that's possible, but it's not definitely necessarily true. So, you have a slippery slope type of thinking. Do you see how the line of thinking it sounds kind of true, but then it just falls quickly towards bad logic? Let's really get to the nitty-gritty. Right in the beginning, they actually stay pretty tight, pretty sound in their logic and in their thinking. They say bad cable connections cause irritability. Now, that could be true. We could give that to them. Probably makes most or all people irritable. And then they say irritability causes poor work. Well, that's where it starts to break down already. Just because you're irritable doesn't mean that you bring it to work. Not necessarily true. But, possibly, okay? Irritability does cause poor work, but not everyone brings it there. Let's just give it to them. So they say, therefore, if you have bad cable connections, you have poor work. Truthful, yeah, valid, not really, okay? So you see it's already starting to break down. Let's just give it to DirecTV that bad cable leads to work suffering. Well, if work suffers, you're going to fail at your job. Is that true? Not necessarily. I mean, you could just make typos in your emails, or take too long of a break that day, or talk to somebody a little callously. You don't necessarily completely fail at your job, so that's kind of a poor, untrue statement there. Poor statement. But let's keep going with the line of thinking. If you fail at your job, then the wrong man will be convicted. Whoa, that's completely off there. Now they're taking a huge leap in logic. When people fail at their job, they don't necessarily get the wrong man convicted. Most people aren't even defense lawyers. There's a bunch of lawyers even, and not all of them are defense lawyers. If I fail at my job, hopefully I don't get people convicted, though I guess that's possible. So here we see a huge leap in logic, a big false statement, not true, and therefore the conclusion, that statement is not true. Hilarious in the commercial, not hilarious if you write and argue this way. This is what we really want. It's a set of statements that are all true, hard to argue, sequenced, easy to follow, tightly connected. Let's take a look. All planets are round. True. We're not talking about mountains. Generally, because of gravitational pull, planets are a spherical shape. The Earth is a planet. True. Therefore, the Earth is round. True. All statements truthful. Hard to argue. This set of statements is called a syllogism. A syllogism is made up of premises, two or more, those premises are statements that support a conclusion. This syllogism is ideal because both premises are true, the statement is true. Furthermore, if you look at the sequence of the statements are very easy to follow. Check this out. The Earth, 1, is a planet. Planets are round. The Earth, 1 through 4, is round. Very easy to follow. Tight sequence, tightly connected. Now, is this syllogism valid? Yes, it is. All statements are true. All statements are connected and related to one another. Later, we'll discuss the difference between validity and truth. Quick review. Perfect syllogism. Two or more premises that prove a conclusion to be true. No phony baloney and no foolishness. Remember also the slippery slope. A plus B equals C, D, E, F, etc. Not necessarily true. Don't let your thinking or others people thinking slide down into the chasm of baloney. Those of you really sharp, consider this statement. It is valid, but clearly it is not real or true. All zombies can read minds. Bill Jensen is a zombie. Therefore, Bill Jensen can read minds. See how easy it is to follow that? It's logical. It's logically sequenced, but it's not true. So it's valid, but it's not true. Look at it visually here. Bill Jensen is a zombie. All zombies can read minds. Therefore, Bill Jensen can read minds. Very easy to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Logically sequenced, valid, consistent, tight reasoning, but clearly not true or real. I hope.
I pity the fool.